Thursday, and that means it's time for another Throwback Thursday with none other than Lori Kent with the Local Loop Podcast. Hello.
Welcome back.
I know, and I heard I missed last week.
I know.
So you're going to have to catch me up a little bit.
And it's a two-parter. So.
Okay, well, you know, give me the Cliff Notes version, and
absolutely.
then we'll get into what we're talking about today.
Totally. So last week we did Fort Dakota DT, which, by the way, DT means Dakota Territory, not downtown.
Okay.
But that's what I thought it meant. And so let's start there. And so right next to that historical marker is a brand new one, and it talks about the barracks at Fort Dakota. And it's really interesting because, so this one is located in the same place right next to the Fort Dakota one, and it talks about these barracks. And what's interesting is the fort itself was only there for 4 years, from 1865 to 1869. However, the barracks last twice as long, and that totally makes sense once we talk about it. So these barracks ended up being 140 feet by 20 feet. It's a 5-room situation with like a central stove. The logs to make it were hauled from Sioux City, but then they have to make some bunks inside. And so they use some local trees and they make bunks out of them, which sounds great, right? Like locally sourced products, but they were infested with bed bugs.
Oh.
So they went ahead and rubbed the wood with kerosene. So now your bunk, you know, doesn't have bed bugs, but it smells like kerosene. So, you know, positives and negatives here. You're also sharing that bunk. That bunk is going to be shared with another member of your team, and you are sleeping on a hay-filled sack. So, you know, they had it rough, but it is the Army. This is the Company E 6th Cavalry of Iowa that were located here for those 4 years. And so what happens after 1869 when the fort closes? Well, that's when they start to resettle Sioux Falls again, and these barracks are going to be used for everything because it's like one of the only structures in town. Did I mention they have a stove in it? Like, wow.
Jeez.
For 1869, this is a hopping place.
Oh, yeah.
People with last names like Phillips and Pettigrew, this is going to be their first kind of stopping point when they get to town. So they're going to live inside of the barracks while they're building their homes, while they're finding their homesteads, while they're getting their land. So this is super duper vital to the beginnings of that new Sioux Falls. So it's really cool that this historical marker is there, but it took a long time to get this historical marker because the Mary Chilton chapter of the DAR, they got a plaque in 1984 that describes these barracks, and it was put on the Hollywood Theater, which doesn't exist anymore, so it was moved to the Commerce Building. However, in 1990s, it gets lost. There's a renovation, and somehow this plaque disappears. I guarantee it's in someone's living room, right? Like, don't we think? I wish it was mine, but I don't have it, or else I would have given it back. So they needed a new historical marker. So this time, instead of a plaque, they did a big historical marker. We're not going to lose this one.
Wow, so interesting.
It is, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So if people want to see this historical marker, tell us again where it's located.
Yes, it is on Phillips Avenue. It's between Experience Sioux Falls and the Spa and Phillips, right across from the Holiday, and it's hard to miss, and it tells you a great piece of our history. Now, there's still a piece of Fort Dakota that we haven't talked about, which is the people that died during the 4 years that the fort was open. So hopefully we'll get there next week.
Let's get there next week for sure. Do you have a podcast on this at all?
There will be,
yes. There's going to be a podcast, so stay tuned next week, of course.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And stick around, we have more after the break.